Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Burning Out Bush. I am one of your hosts, Josh Moyer, and this is my co-host, compadre.
Sure. Keep going. I'm Rick Grace. I think this is episode 5, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is crazy. It's like gone so quick, like we just started, but man, we got another great episode for you today. We mentioned last week, first, thank you to our Polka Daniels for helping us open up our discussion on youth ministry. That was part 1. Today's going to be part 2.
Yep.
And we have Alan Middleton from over in Rockwall, Texas at Eastridge that will be joining us. That is one of Rick's buddies. And man, you guys are in for a treat today as we talk with him. Great knowledge, great communicator. He will be fun. We will laugh together, and we'll be serious together. But hopefully, you're going to continue to gain some knowledge or peek behind the curtain on what youth ministry life is about.
That's right. So here we go. All right, and we are here with Alan Middleton. Alan is probably one of my best friends, and I'm glad he's on the show with us. So, Alan, tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Where are you now? Ministry? How'd you get there? All that stuff.
Well, I met Rick just today, so I don't know why he would say that. That's kind of a weird way to open up. No, I've known Rick for a good long while. I consider him a really good friend as well. Josh, we haven't known each other as long, but I'm hoping that can continue to progress.
Absolutely.
Man, I don't know. How do I condense my life story?
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys.
I was born on a Saturday. It was a cold day. No, I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas. I grew up in a large family. I have 7 siblings. There were 8 of us all together there in Wichita. We were all homeschooled all the way through high school. Sometimes a detail I leave out, sometimes one I put in for reasons. And then I went on to, I wanted to be a youth minister pretty much from the time I got in youth group. I was just so excited to be at all these youth group functions. We had a brand new youth minister when I got into youth group, Toby Levering. And by the time I was 15 or 16, I was just haranguing him all the time about the ins and outs of youth ministry. Like what are the ups, what are the downs, what are the things that you've learned? And he'd only been in ministry for a couple of years at that point, but he was a good youth minister to me, and someone who I thought he could have done anything he wanted to do, and he chose to devote his life to getting teenagers closer to Jesus. And I couldn't think of anything better than that. So I went to Oklahoma Christian. I pursued that. I eventually got a master's from OC, something I'll only mention once, I promise. And that was good. I started doing ministry in Cleburne, Texas at West Hill. I was there for 4 years, and then I got the call to come to Eastridge Church of Christ in Rockwall, Texas, and we've been here for 7.5 years. I'm married to my wife, Jennifer. We have 2 kids. Caitlin, who is about to be 6, and Max, who is about to be 1. So we are a happy family of 4. Outside of that, I am kind of a stereotypical youth minister. I love pizza. I love movies. I love playing disc golf. I have a beard. I don't know. I just stereotypical youth minister things.
Drive a LeBaron.
So yeah, that's me.
Well, it's cool, man. Well, thanks for being here again. I know we've done a lot of youth ministry things together. We're close geographically, and so I look to you as a leader and an example in a lot of the things you do, and I think we'll have fun just picking your brain. I know you don't consider yourself an expert in ministry, and none of us are, but we all have experiences, and I think you've got some valuable things to add to the conversation. You want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I'm assuming, met through Netsis. Is that right? Through all the Netsis stuff?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Hey, you said you grew up in Wichita. Do you know Michael Jones? He's a preacher up there in Wichita.
I don't think so. What church is he at over there?
I can't remember. Shout out Michael, though, in case he watches.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad you're on, and I look forward to today. I mean, this is so we've had a part 1 for youth ministry, so you're kind of in it for us. We thought that was a subject we just needed to devote some extra time to. Because so many ministers kind of start there. And there's just so much more experience in youth ministry than I think in any minister position. So I'm really looking forward to it, and glad that you're on here. So
Thanks, John. How long were you in youth ministry until you took the demotion of pulpit ministry?
Yeah, exactly. Rick gets mad because I'm like, when are you going to go up to pulpit? And he's like, it's not up.
Yeah.
But I like to rage bait him. So I started in youth ministry in 2008, part-time for the church that I grew up in. And then all of those things just kind of led into going full-time. I always thought I was going to be a teacher and a coach, man. I wanted to coach football, teach science, and so that kind of just, I don't know, God was like, you're going to do that, but my way. So I've loved every second. So I started falling in love with preaching probably in around 2018. So 10 years I was in youth ministry. I went and preached for 2 years up north. Loved where I was. Church culture was a little toxic, but then came back, did 2 more years in youth ministry. So, and then I've been preaching ever since. So I've got 12 out of my 17 in youth ministry.
Wow, man, that's great.
Yep.
Rick, what about you? How many years did you total out in youth ministry? So far, because you'll come back one day.
Yeah. See, I was 2 years part-time in college.
Up to the pulpit.
Yeah. 2 years part-time in college, and then since 2015 full-time until last year. So what is this? It's about 10 years or so full-time, plus in a couple of years part-time, and then this is 6 months into this new role. So,
all right. So yeah, well over 30 years between the three of us. That should be some wisdom in there.
Yes.
Yeah, the guy we had our last episode had been 30 by himself.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So our youth ministry.
But he's not just a youth minister anymore.
He's not now, but yeah, no. But before he became pulpit guy, he had 26 years, I think, as youth minister. So we have almost 60 years between 2 guests and the 2 of us. Just to talk about youth ministry. So
that's good.
You know, there absolutely are some legends out there who've done it their whole career.
Yeah.
And, you know, should be writing the books and stuff on that and all that. But
I mean, Clay, who we had on last episode that, you know, Alan watched this morning, but that's all he's ever done.
Right.
And he's
23 years between 2 churches, he said.
Yeah, I believe that's what it was. So, and I don't see him doing anything else. I mean, I think he is one of those guys that, while it's rare, I think they can go the distance in youth ministry.
I have such respect for those guys that go the distance. That is a rare thing.
Yep. So
for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, let's dig into the nuts and bolts of youth ministry a little bit, and these questions are all over the place. So we're just kind of throwing some different topics and questions at you. But this first one has to do with metrics and how we measure success in youth ministry. You know, in our tribe, we like to count baptisms and attendance and stuff like that. And those always, I mean, baptism is a pretty big deal. But if you throw those away, what are the things that really matter to help measure a healthy youth ministry, in your opinion, good sir?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I would never be one to discount those things as if they didn't matter. I think having those metrics is useful. I think the danger of overemphasizing those metrics is very real. I was just talking to you guys about reading the book, Your First 2 Years in Youth Ministry, and it talks about the dangers of wrapping too much of yourself in those numbers of how well you're doing at your job. And while I think those are things to pay attention to, it's good not to just get your identity too wrapped up into, you know, was youth group a big hit today or not? Like the idea of just faithfully serving and trying to make sure that you are doing ministry from your blessing and not for your blessing, to borrow a phrase from Henry Nouwen, is absolutely right on. Like, you have to make sure that you're working out of your identity in Christ and not out of some sort of metrics, performance-based, you know, I'm a good youth minister because I have the biggest program in town. That is just not a good mind space to be in. So if we were to strip that away and actually talk about what are very useful metrics and just determining the health of a youth ministry, I'm very quick to just look at relationships. I'm sure that's no shock to you guys. That's probably what you're thinking as well. But I like to look at relationships with the youth parents. I think when you can, and I found this as I've gotten older in youth ministry, paying attention to the culture of the community of your youth parents is important. It's ideal if they like to be together and they like to, you know, talk to each other outside of class. And sometimes in youth ministry and family ministry, you get opportunities to facilitate that a little bit. A lot of times that's not something you can control. It's just kind of the phase of ministry that you're in. Maybe you have a lot of sports parents that are seeing each other at games, and so there's a little bit of cohesion that's happening there, even outside of church, and that can be a helpful thing. But yeah, whether the parents actually enjoy kind of being around each other, around each other's kids, I think can be really helpful. Having a good small group ministry in your church that maybe helps facilitate that can be really helpful. Within the youth ministry itself, I paid very close attention to the core group, and that could be any size. That could be 3 kids, that could be 8 kids. It could be look very different from youth group to youth group, but the culture of that core group is so important, because if you identify them as this is probably the core group of my youth ministry, other kids in your youth ministry also see that, right? They can recognize that these are the kids that are coming to everything, that are I don't know, that are volunteering a lot, and the culture that they're bringing to the youth ministry is so important. Like I am all for having some extra expectations on those kids. You guys are the ones setting the example for the rest of this youth group, and whether that looks like you having some kind of leadership committee and it's formalized that way, or it's more informal and you're just trying to maybe take some of those kids out to lunch intentionally once in a while, and really just giving them that message of the culture in this youth group. Man, I'm going to do all that I can to implement Christ-like principles in that, but these kids are watching you guys so closely, and they will mirror what you guys do, and they will pick up on your expectations, and probably try to live those out a lot more than unfortunately what the adult youth minister has to say. And maybe that's an excuse, but I've really seen that be true in the different phases of youth ministries that I've had the privilege of ministering to. And then another indicator of that, maybe with your core group, is this a youth group that has pockets of friends that actually want to hang out together outside of youth group functions? I think that's a huge indicator of health in a youth group, that they actually want to spend time together, whether it's at the church building or at a Brahms. Shout out to Brahms. I love Brahms.
Yes, my guy.
If they yeah. Oh, that's right. You've spent some time in Oklahoma, But do they want to like spend that time together outside of youth events? Like, great, Devo's over. That was a good time. Now let's go hang out together and keep this going. And I think that can be a huge indicator of some healthy dynamics going on in your youth ministry. That's what comes to mind first for me. What do you guys think?
There was something you said in there about your parents. We actually, who you've gotten to meet, obviously, but we just hired a new youth ministry minister here, Nathan Dillinger, who we talk about.
Nathan, yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that early on I shared with him. I said, look, he wanted some advice about how to be successful. And I said, look, it is going to come natural, one, just because of your age, to do all the fun stuff. But if you really want a successful youth group, first be successful with the parents. Parents, sometimes they have unrealistic expectation. Like me and Rick talked about this the other day, but they can make or break how successful you are in the group. And Nathan's kind of taken that to heart, and he's got parents going with him to Winterfest, and he's got them they got a retreat here in a couple of weeks, and he's got parents going to cook and to be a part of that and building relationships. And I said, hey, you need to be in their homes, not just to hang out with their kid, but also to visit with them and become friends with them. And man, they'll support you all day long. So I thought what you said there was pretty awesome. So that is a surefire way to be successful in youth ministry, is to be successful with parents.
I think
it's really hard to inhabit that early on in your youth ministry. I'm glad you talked to Nathan, because being so young, that's an intimidating thing to want to include parents in the ministry, because you feel like sometimes there's feelings of, this is supposed to be my job, so I'm supposed to be doing all these things. And sometimes it just feels like, man, I'm not in the same phase of life with these people, so maybe I'm not going to talk to them as much or be as intentional with opening those communication channels. And then what you said, Josh, is right on. Just building that culture of, man, we want you at these events. We want you connecting with these kids, not just because your kid is here, but you may help connect with another kid who just gravitates to your personality more than the youth minister. I think having that extra adult volunteerism and that culture of volunteerism with your parents is so key. I totally agree.
Absolutely.
Rick, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think the most important metric is how much pizza you order every week.
There is a disconnect between, it seems like, this kind of generation or culture that we have today, where there's a disconnect between teenager and mom and dad or parent or whoever's raising. So I think it's imperative that youth minister try to bridge that relationship. So if you can invite them to camps and let them see them listen about God and sing to God and pray to God together. If a child can watch that from see that from their parents, and then vice versa. That just creates a relationship that's not just built on yes and no at home, but on a spiritual foundation too. So there's so much important little metrics there, intricacies to a youth minister. I actually like the kind of term youth and family, because it really puts a cherry on, hey, this is about building our families together. So yeah, I love that you brought that up. That's awesome.
I'm making a note. We need to have an intergenerational discussion sometime.
Yeah, we do. We do. Absolutely.
Well, cool. Thanks, Alan. Let's we'll keep moving. We got some good questions here. Take the next one.
Okay. Here's a question we wanted to ask you. I mean, how do you handle? So really, this is in any ministry, but just specifically in youth ministry, how do you handle the quote well-meaning criticism from elders and parents regarding the youth program without taking it as a personal failure? And the reason why we ask that question is it piggybacks off the first one. Sometimes, elders have a lot of pressure. I don't know if it's church culture or what it is, to not be the next church that closes its doors. So they can get geared into the whole baptism and head counting more than they can be about growing really is our discipleship and how that's playing out in the church. But so their ministry in general, but in youth ministry, maybe it's just easier to criticize the young guy, if you will. Not that every youth minister is young, but you know what I'm trying to say. But how do you take that criticism without feeling like you're being, criticized in a negative way?
Yeah. What do you mean? That's never happened before.
Happened yesterday.
It's such a good question, because it does happen to any minister who's been in it longer than a second. Then this happens, and a lot of times it is just that. It's well meant. It's not attacking your worth as a human being or as a minister, and some of it is just that, knowing that just because they're criticizing a program is not them attacking your worth like that. Just trying to keep those things separate is so tough to do, because I have been guilty of very quickly going to, okay, they're saying I didn't think this through. They're saying I'm not doing good at my job. And maybe once in a while they do mean that, but in general, I would say 99% of the time, they're not trying to attack you. They're trying to point out something that could have gone better in a program or an event. I would encourage any minister to, if you can, handle that with grace. It is a particularly hard thing when it's maybe directed towards not even just you, but maybe your spouse. I just listened to that episode where you guys were talking about being protective of your nuclear family, and that's a hard thing to do when it's a criticism that made its way to someone in your family. But what I was going to say is the idea of this criticism comes your way. Try as hard as you can to take that with grace and know that there may be a kernel of truth in what they're telling you. They may actually have a good point here, or something you can change. And it doesn't matter who it's coming from. It may be someone you respect or someone you don't respect as much. There may be something true about what they're saying that could improve on a program you just had. And just being diligent about looking for that kernel of truth. Just eat the meat and spit out the bones, and take it for what it is, and try not to just ruminate on these things later in the day and just think, what did they really mean by this, or what are they really trying to say about it? Just know that that's not a helpful rabbit hole to go down. I'm not always good at this, but that would be my advice to me. What do you guys think?
I don't know that anybody's good at it. I'm certainly not.
Taking notes over here.
I do as I was listening to you and read this question or thought of this question, I thought about me early on in ministry and then me today. And I would say to every minister, especially if you are young in youth ministry, with time it does get better. I don't know if it gets easier, but it does take a lot of humble pie. And that's something I do tell young ministers is the first thing you need to get as a minister is tough skin, because it's going to be poked a lot. And, that's the reality. It's not that people are intentionally mean, or you may have some of those. Absolutely. We're not going to be naive, but it's not that they're intentionally mean. It's, everyone has an opinion, and unfortunately, no one hears an opinion like a minister. So, but
put that on the t-shirt.
Yeah, we might have to put that on some merchandise or something. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It's tough. I mean, but it does get easier as we ourselves mature in ministry. It doesn't mean that you don't always have those thoughts in the back of your mind, but
Yep.
of like, well, why are they doing this? But yeah, I think what you said is really invaluable. Like, maybe just think about it for a second before you react. Just think, do they have a point? And one of the things I've learned as I'm doing a leadership master's is we all have biases. We all believe that we're doing it right because maybe that's the way we've always done it, or maybe I'm just good at it. But like, one of the things I've learned is that good leaders understand that there's a possibility that I might not be right, that I might need to clean something up. And so yeah, that's great information, Alan.
Yeah. I just was going to add, I struggle with this for sure a lot. I mean, it's one of my signature moves is overthinking. But I think, what? Yeah, I think something that I have to remind myself is we're all on the same team.
That's right.
And when I hear something that's critical, like we said, it's not supposed to be personal. Sometimes it might be, but generally it's coming from a place of this is for the kingdom or this is for the good of the church. We do get, there are sometimes there's cheap shots or stuff that's not fair, but by and large, I think it's supposed to be on the same team, cooperative and helpful.
Yeah.
So let's keep it going though.
Let me ask you a question. As older ministers ministers that have been doing this a while, do we have a stewardship to kind of protect and help those younger ministers in this area? Do we feel like we do a good job of that, like mentoring them in this kind of
Well, let me jump in for a second, because as I was hearing you guys talk, I realized my first several years in youth ministry, I didn't have very much criticism at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was because I was a perfect youth minister.
Honeymoon period.
Yeah, it could have been honeymoon period.
It was in the honeymoon.
But I think also the church I was at just gave me a lot of grace.
Yeah.
They trusted me, and they saw the good things I was doing, and they kind of let me just have the space to learn from my mistakes. Yeah. And, we joked about it. Oh gosh, 6 or 7. Oh no, several years after.
Come on.
After I'd been there, that, oh man, I really oversold myself in my interview, didn't I? And they're like, yeah, but we knew it. It's okay. And I was like, this is my family. I love them. And so, at a bigger church now, I feel like there's been a little bit more criticism.
Yeah.
And I've wondered, is that because of the scale? Is it just the people? Like, what's the difference? And
I had a minister one time tell me, more people, more problems.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's not a bad thing. It's also they, as shepherds or whatever, have more to steward.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So don't blame them. So.
And that's not a knock at anyone. It's just when you deal with more people, there's more personality, there's more opinions. I mean, you're going to have more coming at you. So it's a natural thing more than it is a malicious thing, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
So
I remember someone telling me early on, kind of what you said, Josh, the idea that ministers need to have thick skin and tender hearts, and thick skin and soft hearts, I think is what they said. And I didn't really know what they meant by that. I was like, why would I need to have thick skin in my own church? It's like, okay, I get that now. I understand what they were trying to say. And that is something that it is a learned skill. It's not something that you're immediately good at. And I think we could stand to be a little bit more intentional with our young people in ministry. Just expect those well-intentioned, but sometimes cutting words might come, and how to handle those. That's good advice.
Yeah.
All right.
And to go back to what you said, I think the leadership of the congregation matters too. Like what you just told me, relayed to me that you had really good church leaders that sounds like they were doing it a scriptural way and not taking our earthly relationship with authority into the church, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know who those elders were, but I appreciate them already for that.
But
But that's a different topip for a different day.
Sure.
That's coming up in a few weeks. Yeah. There's the plug.
Elders.
We love our elders.
Gotta hate them, gotta love them.
Don't touch that dot.
It's actually, we're talking about elders and conflict and all that. It's gonna be great.
Yep.
I forgot what I was gonna say after that, but it'll probably come back later. Let's move on. All right, so you have a hard week. Sometimes it feels like Wednesday nights are usually the hardest for youth ministers. I don't know about you, Alan, but there's always the truth of don't resign on a Wednesday night, or don't hang it up.
Don't send the email.
Don't send the email. Wait until you sleep on it or whatever. But whether it's a Monday morning or a Thursday, what is one thing you do to reset after a grueling time of ministry?
My first thing, what I would say, and I know maybe not everyone's in a circumstance where they can do this. If it's been a particularly grueling weekend, like there was a wedding, a funeral, a lock-in, a weekend long service project, whatever it was, like don't work on Monday. I know that that's not everyone's situation, but if you can kind of flex those days where it's been a full weekend and it's not like it was a particularly busy afternoon, but like it was a lot of work. I would push for flexing that day on a Monday and just saying, man, I need a day to rest. Like this thing went on from, Friday night to Sunday morning, and I need some extra time. I feel like as ministers, we're not very quick to give ourselves that, or at least from what I've seen, a lot of youth ministers, a lot of ministers are very quick to just take on more, which can work for a while and it can burn out the bush after a certain amount of time if you let it keep going that way.
Yep.
Now, if we're talking about just like on a weekly basis and, you're having, class and devos on a Sunday and you're just feeling tired, I like starting Monday with a little bit of review time, like sit down with a fellow minister and just talk about how Sunday went, go get coffee, get out of the church building, go get breakfast, go sit in a park, and just if you like to play disc golf, go play disc golf and talk about how the weekend went, just for a little bit of time. Just get out of the office and just kind of decompress, review what happened, and talk about how to make things sharper and better. I think that time spent outside of the office can be so life-giving, just because it feels like it's not, it's not a conference meeting. All of a sudden, it's just doing something shoulder to shoulder and reviewing and decompressing how the weekend went. And having an activity like that, whether it's golf or disc golf or pickleball, whatever it is, something that gives you conversation time to talk about those things, I think is great. And having someone on your ministry team, whether you particularly like them or not, but just kind of a reaffirmation of we're on the same team and we're trying to make our Sundays, our times with our people as best as possible. I mean, don't let it just be a complete gripe session every time. There'll be things to gripe about for sure. But let it be come around to an affirming thing of we have a goal and we're trying to make things better. To me, that's a great way to start a Monday, where you're getting some time where it feels like you're re-energizing, but at the same time you are trying to, sharpen things and make them better.
Yeah. We do staff meetings here, and I've thought, for a while, like, because like after you've had a busy weekend, you said something there that's so true. It is easy to turn things into a gripe session. I mean, it is so because, and this is part of why we're doing this podcast, because ministers don't always have the platform to vent and to express frustrations and things. So, like our staff meetings on Mondays, not that they are this, but it is easily done. Like we can, so I thought, for a while, like what could we do together that's more spiritual than just this? And so we've been going and having lunch together after the meetings. I wish we would do breakfast instead. Like I wish our staff meetings were somewhere else other than the building.
That's a good idea.
Just to get us from these walls, because this is, if we're not careful, this being in here becomes a ministry identity. And ministry, in my opinion, takes place outside. We have our little percentage that it happens inside the building, but I feel like we could do a better job of bringing the spiritual element in to what we do on Mondays. But for 15 years, I've always had Mondays off. And then when I came to Texas, they were like, no, you get Friday and Saturday. So, but I've always liked the Monday to just kind of decompress and spend time with my wife, take the kids to school, do the dad stuff that sometimes you don't always get to do. And just kind of be a part of that. But yeah, we could, that's a good idea. We could do some more things here to do that.
I was gonna make the joke. Oh, so Alan, you're not saying have a 9:30 staff meeting on Monday? Because for me, like that is stressful, and it is kind of like the opposite of because sometimes we do bring in our anxiety from the weekend, and then we just kind of, I don't know if it's healthy or not unhealthy, but like it feels like it's not the healthiest way to process sometimes, and so. We've been talking about this. We're still working on something that a better way to do it, but like that's why I'm like maybe a different day. Tuesday gives us a buffer to kind of realize what matters, what doesn't matter, and then we can talk about it in a healthy way. But breakfast on Monday would be good, and then an actual meeting the next. I don't know,
because like during the course of the day on Sunday, something may happen, and the first thing in my mind is can't wait to talk about this in Monday staff meeting,
Yeah.
and that should not be the way that,
right.
that and I know everyone is doing that. They're like, I can't
Yeah.
wait to talk about this in the staff meeting,
Right.
But yeah, absolutely.
We do staff meeting on Tuesday, but I really do like the idea of doing breakfast somewhere outside the church walls for a staff meeting. That would be cool. And maybe there's a less temptation to gripe if it's in a more public setting where other people are witnessing how a church staff functions
That's
together.
true. That's so true. That is so true.
That might be a good thing.
Yeah. Might be.
Although with my personality, I don't know that would help.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
The waitress would be like, "When are we burning it down? I'm coming with you."
Yeah. No. So no, that's good stuff, man.
Yep.
Well, we got another question for you. In a world where parents can find better entertainment, so this is something me and Rick have talked about recently. Like, this is one of the reasons why it was a time for maybe me to go into preaching ministry, which I don't really like the term preaching minister, because I feel like I do more than that. Like, I like going out and meeting people. I'm very relational, but unfortunately we live in the social media entertainment culture today. So the way we youth ministered yesterday, or when we first began, you can't do it that way anymore because of how our culture is changed. So there are things like parks and YouTube and all of these things that parents can do with their children. Why does youth ministry, particularly in our church, the Church of Christ, why does that still matter? If we stripped away those trips, if we stripped away the vans and the pizza and all of that we've talked about, that we love so much, what do we do that we just can't afford to let die? Why does coming to here, being a part of this, still matter?
Well, it probably won't surprise you guys that the answer to this question, I think, kind of echoes a little bit my answer to the first question. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to relationships. I know kids are drawn to a TikToker that, has a catchy, quick sort of bit where he's talking about, truths of the Bible, and they're going really fast. They're talking about, the Nephilim. Did you know this? Fun facts. I mean, and that's great. But at the end of the day, and the same thing with like theme parks and these other things, at the end of the day, kids don't want to have a relationship with a Google page, or, they don't. They're starting to get wise to this idea of this doom scrolling is not good for them. It's not fulfilling. Like, I love seeing that self-awareness from kids now, that they're starting to see that in themselves of, I will waste 3 hours on this and I do not feel good afterwards. Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, kids want relationship. I think we're all wired that way, that we want to be known. We want to be able to love and be loved. And it's like arguing for, would you rather watch a campfire on a YouTube video, or would you rather be in front of a campfire? Like, you may be pleasing to hear the sounds of a crackling campfire, but to not actually be there, to feel the warmth, to have the light on your face, like, it's not good. It kind of felt that way a little bit during COVID, when we were just so reliant on having to do worship virtually. Mm-hmm. I mean, everyone knew this cannot be a long-term solution, because we are not getting that same warmth that we get from being there in front of the fire. And I mean, at the end of the day, if your goal for your youth ministry is try to out-program the biggest and best that the world has to offer, man, it's a lose-lose situation. Either you do really good at that, and that's all your youth ministry is just really good events and programs that are entertaining, or you just realize that you're going to come up short, and there's no way to keep up with everything the world is putting in front of our kids. But either way, it's futile. Like, you are trying to win kids to a relationship, and not just with each other, but a relationship that is under Christ, that is bringing them to the cross. And I know you guys have experienced this. There's been so many times where a service project that seems like it's going to be grueling and awful ends up being one of the most epic events that your kids remember, and they always have these fond memories of this thing that everything seemed to go wrong at that event. The church fan broke down, or the air conditioning stopped working, or whatever it was. But then it becomes like this bonding experience, kind of this shared trauma of, we went through this together, and it was for a purpose. And it was a good thing. It ends up being this memory building thing. I remember we took a group of kids to trek, and at the time I thought it was kind of a bust, because I think we only got 6 kids to go, and I was hoping for at least 3 times that. And I thought, well, okay, we'll go ahead and do it. And man, I was talking earlier about having a good core group. there were so many kids that were on that trip that just did not know each other well. And after we spent a week of sleeping on the ground and being outside, those kids were just tight as can be. And just the relationships that continued on past that event, it was one of the best investments I've made into my youth group. It's just having this seemingly random group of kids, 6 kids, go on this trip together. And even though it wasn't what I imagined it could have been, it ended up being such a good thing for our youth group because those kids ended up being just such a light for the rest of the group. I feel like I'm getting away from the question, but I think it all comes back to relationships. I just taught recently on the importance of, community and doing, I would say doing life together. I feel like it's such a cliche, but the idea that we're followers of the way and it's not meant to be a solo hike, right? We're meant to follow Jesus together.
Yep.
And there's this quote that's attributed to Tertullian, an early church father. I'm just trying to sound smart now, but he says, "Solus Christianus, nullus Christianus." Which means a Christian alone is no Christian. And man, I love that quote. It is so, so good. Just the idea of you are not meant to follow Christ by yourself. Like, it is an intensely personal thing, but it is never meant to be entirely private thing. Like, you are meant to do this shoulder to shoulder with other people who are both showing you how to do it and keeping you accountable along the way, and just making sure that you are growing along the way. There's so much about following Christ that might actually be easier if you did it on your own. But there's so much about doing it with other people that is for our benefit. We are to learn how to love other people and go through these experiences together. And all that kind of comes back to what I think our student ministries are at their core. It is about relationship building, bringing them closer together as they walk shoulder to shoulder closer to Christ and are in relationship with him. To me, yeah, however much pizza you have, however many times you get to go to Six Flags, however many TikTokers you can put in front of them, that will not compare to the meaning behind the fulfilling feeling I think that they'll have of having a relationship together in the name of Christ.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was longer than I thought it should have been. But go ahead.
That was good. I mean, I thought of some things. I love technology, and I know Rick does. Rick's the tech guru for League Street.
It's a great tool.
It is a great tool, especially if we steward it the right way, which humanity does not always have a reputation for doing. But that is one miscalculation, and I think technology has failed, is that we do have a need for relationship. I know there's Facebook and some of those things, but being on a computer screen and being together in the same room is a lot different. And that should not surprise us, because when you go all the way back to the beginning, what's one of the first things that God says about man? It's not good for them to be alone. Relationship was created into us. We desire it even when we don't desire it. Even the most introverted of introverted desire a relationship with somebody. You want to feel loved. You want to feel like you matter. So we shouldn't be surprised that there's always going to be that need. And I thought of, there's this commercial. So we've been me and my wife are really big into crime shows and things like that. And she particularly likes the ones where the wife murders the husband. I don't know. That's a joke. But there's this red flag. There's this one that we let our boys watch with us, because it's like body cameras and they're chasing bad guys, and there's nothing bad about it. Just kind of old fashioned policing, and my boys eat that up, man. And but every time there's an ad, so it's on A&E, so there's ads. Every time there's an ad, there's this commercial that comes on for what they're wanting. It's like a vocational center where they want more welders and mechanics. And the commercial, it's annoying my sons at this point, but they could quote it verbatim, but it'll say, AI, change this tire. AI, weld this pipe. And the whole time I'm thinking, they're creating robots for that. But I understand their point. Like there are some things, especially right now, that technology or those entertainment things, and I know we're picking on technology, but it's the most prevalent in my opinion, that they cannot replace. And I am 100% agreement that a relationship is one of them.
Yeah. I want to, excuse me, I want to pivot to a follow-up question on that relationship thing. Also, so we don't pick on technology anymore, because it kind of hurts. But no. So when it comes to relationships with students, what advice do you have about balancing the appearance of having favorites? Because obviously you're going to connect with some students more than others. That's just because you're a human. We're all humans. But it's important that we don't look like we're having favorites, you know? So what are your thoughts on that, and how have you approached that in the past?
I don't know that I would have called that a pivot. That was like a total 180.
I mean, his answer was relationships.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That is true. That is true.
I'm with you, and I think you're right. I think it is natural to have favorites. I don't know if I completely agree with your premise of the idea that it's important to hide that. When I think about, of course, I'm going to go to Jesus and the disciples. When I think about Peter, James, and John, and the guys that he spent more time with, I don't think he was very intentional about hiding that from the other disciples. I think
imagine them reading
in
the
some
Gospel
ways,
of John and being like, "What?
I
knew it." Yeah,
the one Jesus loved. What?
I thought it was me.
I think it's important where, you are trying to balance your time well when it is, time before class and after class that, there's certain kids don't have a monopoly on all your time. I think that's really important that you are trying to spread out as best you can. But at the same time, like if we're trying to be intentional about getting other adults into our student ministries, whether that be parent volunteers or other young adult volunteers, I think the goal in that is that there will be other personalities in the room that these kids can also be favorites of and be attached to.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reality is always going to be you are going to have more things in common with other kids. Like I do like to we'll use disc golf. I do like to go play disc golf, and so typically the boys in my youth group that want to go do that, I'm spending more time with them because we go do that. And I don't think that's necessarily something to hide in front of your youth group. I think that is something to celebrate, that relationships can get closer and they can form outside of youth group, all the while you're trying to make sure people don't feel like they just have no access point to get deeper with any kind of meaningful relationship with someone older than them. So you need to be thoughtful of being too exclusive in the times where you're with your youth group and you're all together. But at the same time, I don't know if it's a good or healthy to try to hide that there are people that you get along with better in your youth group. I think that's natural and it's going to happen. And I'm not sure that there should be apologies for that.
What if we framed it this way? Because I'll be honest, I had favorites. I'm not gonna hide it. And this is kind of twofold, but my favorites also were the ones that were more likely to invite their friends because they, whether they realized it or not, there was this natural. I mean, they wanted their friends to experience what they were experiencing.
Yeah.
And then also your favorites, if that's the word we want to use, they are like what I was saying. They're often the more evangelistic of the group. They want to invite people. They want people to be involved. Come hang out with my youth minister, and because they want their friends to experience what they're experiencing. So if you steward that, and that's kind of been our theme word today, I guess. If you steward that the right way, it can be an advantage. Now, I remember, so as a young guy, it is natural for us being men to maybe have those closer relationships, especially when we were younger, to the boys in the class. And I remember one time I had girls specifically call me out for it in front of everybody in the youth group. Like, you're always doing stuff with the boys. I was like, so me, just kind of from a pride standpoint and like a gotcha moment, I was like, oh yeah, well next week I'm taking all of y'all to get pedicures. And we did, and they loved it. So you can find ways to mesh with the ones that maybe you don't mesh naturally or don't have the most organic connection with. But whether we want to try to steer away from or not, there's no way to avoid it. Your personality is just going to mesh better with the personalities that are like yours. I mean, I can only speak from experience. Like the kids that were into sports, I naturally gravitated toward them. The ones who were into fishing and hunting, I naturally gravitated more to them. And Rick is you're gonna gravitate to the ones that like Star Wars or hockey or bless Rick's heart, he's been trying to introduce hockey to this church for a long time.
There's actually some closet hockey fans.
You are. That's true. That's true.
I was gonna say, man, so I've had a lot of youth ministers growing up, went to big churches and all that, and there was a season where my wife and I both were at the same church, same youth group, and we felt like we were not in that group, and that there was a very clear group of favorites, and like that hurt, and it caused a lot of baggage for her, especially. And she's open about this. This isn't private, but so like I'm always wrestling with that, like who is the person that I'm missing, and I can't say I've done a great job of that because sometimes I'm oblivious to anything not directly in front of me. but yeah, I think it's a conversation we need to keep having, and you guys I think have had a good answer. I think there's a concern if you're somebody maybe super immature and you're doing youth ministry for yourself, which is it's a temptation, to get that,
like a personality driven model.
Yeah. I've never been the cool kid, but now everyone's looking at me, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you just got to keep looking for the people who need you in that moment. And sometimes you might even neglect the favorites because they get you somewhere else.
Yeah.
Neglect's the wrong word. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is just organic conversation here now.
No, but it's good. That's a really good question. I love that, Rick.
We call this therapy time with Rick.
Okay. Right.
No, I mean, I think it's like, as youth ministry, there's no doubt the kids are going to notice. Like, I just gave you the story of the girls, and I'm close to a lot of those girls even before that, but it just made me look at it from okay, this is a generality thing. I am doing more with the boys. So it got me to woke up, but I always encouraged kids to, hey, if you don't feel like I'm giving you enough time, or if you want me to go lift weights with you because you've seen me go fishing with this one, or come eat lunch with you more often, tell me. Like, don't pull me aside or call me out in front of the group. I don't care. Yeah. But I need to know if there are some areas and that can be a humbling thing to say in front of your class, like, hey, if you don't ever feel like I'm giving you the right time, I want you to come tell me. And because it is easy, because having those quote unquote favorites, it does make youth ministry feel easier on the days where it's been hard too. That that, man, I had a tough day today, but I get to see my kids and so. But I hate that it happened to you, Rick. I grew up without a youth minister. I was a small church, but we always had like 25 kids for a church of 100 in our youth group. But so my youth ministry thing was not because I watched all these guys ahead of me. So I guess I never got to experience that what I've probably done as a youth minister too. So or my thought process would be framed different.
Yeah.
Real quick story.
No, you're good.
We remember having a kid in our youth group who was really big into Dungeons and Dragons, and he, bless his heart, not to give him to stereotypes, he was one of those kids where he was kind of always on the outside looking in, and you could tell he was kind of upset that's where that was his lot in life was to be a kind of the oddball. But so one time I'm just talking to him, and he said, man, I wish there were more kids in the youth group that wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. And I told him, like, I've never played, man. If you want to do like a one shot, I will get a group together and we'll play. And he said, okay. And so because I did have a group of favorites, I was able to leverage that group and say, hey guys, I really want to lift this kid up. He feels like he's on the outside. Yeah. Let's go play Dungeons and Dragons with him. Like, none of them had ever played before. And so this group of like 5 or 6 kids came and played Dungeons and Dragons just for it was for like 3 hours. So we were involved. But we played, and it was good. It was a really good time because this group that already had this camaraderie was able to bring that energy to this and make that kid really feel seen. And that was such a good experience. And I don't know what the point that I'm trying to make, other than if you steward those relationships well, you can invest in these kids to do some powerful things in your youth group, and a lot of times let them be ministry multipliers for you. And that's such a good thing.
That's what it's all about. I mean, the core group, if that's probably the word we need to be using. That core group they're going to be more willing to stand out, even in the awkward. They're going to be more willing to say, let's try that. Yeah. Than maybe the quiet ones, But man, I love that. That's a great story. I mean, that's a perfect way to get youth group to build relationships. And those kids, if I was betting, they've probably heard of Dungeons and Dragons, but never even played it before. Yeah. So it's kind of like Rick's. What's that Star Wars game you had?
Star Wars Armada.
I never even heard of that until him and another guy that used to go here had like a total nerd session about it for like 5 hours.
It takes a long time.
I bet Rick knows about 100 games I've never heard of before.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Right.
Maybe we just need to get together and play all of them. Teach me how to play Armada.
I don't know if you have enough brain power. I'm joking.
Wow.
See the abuse I take? I'm obviously not Rick's favorite.
No.
But you would play with the Netsys guys.
No, it's so weird that you were on the outside in your youth group, Rick.
I joke that I play that game and it uses 100% of my brain, and I'm so brain dead afterwards. So I can absolutely play with you. You'll do great. Yeah. So I'll just crush you.
That's okay.
Man, I want a game that recharges me. I don't want a game that...
No, like that is not the game then, because it
okay,
it
no,
takes
I get it. All right.
of your brain strength.
Yeah.
So anyway. All right. So the future of the church. So it's said often the future of the church is the youth in our class, in our youth rooms. That's a lot of weight for a 16-year-old to bear. As you look at the landscape of the Churches of Christ, what we're doing, what is one old way of doing youth ministry that we need to just let burn out so that a healthier, more sustainable future can actually grow in our youth ministries?
Yeah, my when I read that question, my very first reaction was, stop calling them the future of the church. Like, we've heard this saying before, but let them be the future. Let them be the church of today. Man, it seems like a throwaway line, but it is really true. Like the idea that we're going to practice keychain leadership, not only in our ministries, but also in the larger church, that we're actually going to put teens in charge of things that matter. I think that is such a good thing. It's not only an encouragement for older people to see, but that is life-giving to those teens where they say, I can belong to a church that sees these things in me and is using my abilities even at this age. And having that investment start at such a young age, I think will pay dividends as they grow older. Just knowing that they were been given responsibilities, and again, they feel seen for the things that they're able to do. And this goes for any teen, any teen that you have in your group, regardless of ability level. There is some place that they can be plugged in that is often relegated to just adults, whether that's part of your greeting ministry or up in the AV booth or a service project of actually painting areas of the church that people will actually see. I mean, there's so many things that we're like are untouchable to us. Of this is going to be an adult job, and this is what adults are going to do. And then having teens that are like dedicated to your coffee ministry at your church is such a good thing and such a good message to give people that are coming to visit your church. So the idea of keychain leadership, just giving the keys to kids and let them make some decisions, and really don't let it just be an adage. Don't let it just be a cliche saying. Actually, let them be the church of today. Actually, let them participate in the church culture and the church responsibilities that are required today. I think that's such a good thing.
Yeah.
I think there's so many times we have like the special service where it's like, oh, this is the teen-led service, and so it's going to be one Sunday where the teens are doing everything. And while I love the intent behind that, I feel like it's antithetical to what we're trying to do. We're trying to make them part of the church, like a normal church that's happening all the time. That is a good thing. So that was the first thought that came to mind. Immediately, the second thought that came to mind was lock-ins. Lock-ins need to die a terrible death and should be no
Amen. Yeah. Amen.
No
argument.
I am saying this with the knowledge of we're actually having a lock-in this weekend, and I'm like, why are we doing this? But the kids will harangue me for months and months, and then we put the sign-up list out, and we get almost immediately 30 kids sign up, and I'm like, okay, I guess they really want this.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, I know I'm joking. I do see the benefit of like having that compressed time together, where maybe you don't have time for a retreat or this week-long camp where they're getting all that time together. So this is a way to have a time where they're literally spending 12 hours together that whole time in the church building. That seems like a win, but golly, there's
well, I think it's a lot easier when you're 25 and not 38 or 9.
Yeah, we're having trouble with getting parents to volunteer for this lock-in for some reason.
Weird.
Oh yeah, I wonder why.
Last time I did a lock-in, last couple of times, which I hate them as well. I successfully avoided them for like 8 years. Then I came here and they demanded them. But I will. Okay, this is probably. I don't know if I should confess this on the air or not, but here we go. I will add in spiritual components because I want it to be meaningful.
Yeah.
But also somewhat to discourage them from having another lock-in. Like, if they don't like it, like, I'm not trying to make it boring.
There it was.
But like,
I was waiting for the hammer to drop.
If they know that it's not just going to be a goofy time to play, then maybe they won't want it as much. And I want it to be meaningful. I want it to have purpose. And so I try to add in some things, and it's gone really well. And they still like lock-ins, unfortunately. So I guess it wasn't boring.
Yeah. I still remember the very first lock-in I ever did. I wanted the spiritual aspect before because I was like, I could have fun all night. I could play NCAA football with the guys all night, but we need to do something. So I started this midnight Devo thing, like midnight outside under the moon. We're going to sing, have a quick lesson. And to my shock, that ended up becoming like their favorite thing to look forward to during a lock-in. It was, I didn't have to ever tell them to get off the games or pause the movie, or they just looked forward to that. So God's got a great sense of humor when it comes to that stuff, but appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. Feel like
this is the right place to confess.
So Rick, like one of the lock-ins he had when I first got here, he's like, "Hey, you want to help me with the lock-in?" I was like, "Nope, but I'll come cook for you in the morning."
Yeah, which that's a blessing.
That's actually our men's ministry is doing that. They're cooking breakfast for us at the end of the lock-in.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's a win. That's a good thing.
Good.
I wish I was just doing that.
You know, that's one thing I have noticed about here at League Street, that I didn't always have great parent help when I was a youth minister. I did have. We talk about core kids, and there are core parents too. We have those one or two moms or dads that will do everything. And I'm telling you, I would not have been as successful as I perceive I was without those individuals, those 3 or 4 just that were in the mix all the time. But here at League Street, like, I feel like you ask for help from lock-ins or whatever it is, I feel like we get a good response. But I'm looking kind of from the outside in, but at least for the lock-ins.
Might be the exception.
Really?
Yeah.
See, but when I cooked, there were several parents here, like Tag, and all of them were.
Tag is a trooper.
Tag is one of the
Tag's the goat, man. I love Tag.
Even Alan knows Tag.
Yeah. Who doesn't? know Tag?
Yeah.
He is like the salt of the earth, in my opinion.
Yep.
He is, man.
But yeah, I mean, that's lock-ins. Oh gosh.
Yep.
So glad I'm in the pulpit.
What else would you guys erase from the old way of doing youth ministry?
You know, that's something that I have not thought about in a long time, just because I've been doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. This is probably a bigger thing than youth ministry. It has to do with church culture as a whole. But I gotta think about what I want to say here. I don't like how there's things that we do in our youth groups that we wouldn't do with the church as a whole. And I don't think what we're doing in youth group is wrong. And so I think we need to have the conversations about what really matters. I feel like the church as a whole tends to accommodate the conservative traditional views. And I think that's damaging the future of the church to an extent.
So you're talking about Sister Ethel not going down the slip and slide, or?
Yeah, it's always Sister Ethel. But no, just we need to have the conversations too. And we don't do a good job explaining why we do things the way we do, or why we've arrived at decisions and stuff like that. And so, it feels like we raise our students in the youth group where we have a lot more freedom. We sometimes operate like a separate church, which is not good. Yeah. And then they graduate and go to the big church for the first time.
Adult church, right?
And they're like, well, this is boring, or this is so old-fashioned or backwards, or how come we did this way but not this way? And like that's been it hasn't happened all that much, but there is a disconnect. And usually kids go to Sunday class and then stay for worship, so like they know what's coming. But I've had a few who've asked me, like, why is it so different? And that's bothersome, that there is a disconnect.
I mean, I'm not naive to think that like my way is the best way, because I know what works for me may not work for the next guy. So one thing I would change about the culture and how we interact with our youth is when it comes to the scripture is, this is something that me and Rick have been talking about, and I've become very passionate about, but we have to at some point decide this is more than knowledge. I think the church's history has been all about memorization and reciting verses and not how to live those verses.
LTC.
I didn't say that. But that is something I would change about the culture and work with youth ministers more, especially the younger ones. Because I know Rick personally now, not as well as you do, but I get to work with him, and I know that his whole shtick as a youth minister wasn't just like, let's go verse by verse and not bring any context or application to it. And, let's read the Bible 5 times a year. Like, yeah, read your Bible 5 times. I said this in Sermon Sunday. Yeah, that's great. You read your Bible 5 times a year, but what did you understand about what you read? And so we get these kids that come out of youth group that yeah, they can quote the passages like Philippians 4:13 and Proverbs 3:5-6, but they don't have any clue on what they mean or how they apply to their life. That's the thing. I would change our study culture in the church to, yes, we want biblical knowledge, but we also want biblical understanding to come along with it. And it's more than just reading the black and red words on the page. There's a whole another thing buried underneath those things that we have to teach our kids to search for and long for, to become better children of God as they get older. But that's the one thing that comes to mind, whether that answers the question or not. But
it's good.
No, that's really well said. I've become more and more convicted as of late. Just the idea of discipleship. What does that mean? Just identifying the gap of knowing and doing. Yeah. And like, it is one thing to know about your faith, and it is another thing to be a practitioner of your faith, to be a walker of the way, to be a follower of Jesus. Yep. And I think our kids need to hear that, because I think sometimes they do get to big church and it feels like a lot of people that are just consuming information, and that is what they're there for. And man, that is a dangerous thing. But on a bright note, I have found our church to be, well, I'll give Wednesday nights as an example. Wednesday nights pre-COVID were very much like Sunday morning. It was kind of rote. This is the format of what we do. And then post-COVID, it feels like there was a little bit more freedom of what we do on Wednesday nights. There was a little bit more flexibility, to the point where like some of these prayer station nights I would set up for the teens, we started trying doing that for the adults as well, just making a church-wide prayer station night. And there's been a lot of, I think, just openness to that in our adults. I think there is a lot of, maybe it's a missing of youth group days where we were able to do some more of these, I don't want to say performative, just more hands-on, experiential sort of oriented things on our gathering times. And I've taken that as a good sign, that there is an openness to that of doing things more than just a monologue from a teacher. And that's been good.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I grew up in the church, but it is so different, a year, almost 40 of life than it was early on when I can remember. The church has come so far, and I'm grateful for that. And they're going in the right direction, and a little more open to just more than, well, this is how we've done it for 100 years. And that's a good thing to progress. I mean, you can't, to literally have a relationship with Jesus, you have to change. And so what makes the church think that we shouldn't have to do that together as well? So, but well said.
Hey, we are running out of time, so I'm gonna have to cut it short.
Hey,
I know, like
I enjoyed this.
It's gone by so fast.
Is literally about to stop recording, so
love it.
We can keep talking afterwards, but Alan, thanks for being on the show, man. You've got so much wisdom and some great conversations. So we'll get
really
you
good conversation.
Sometime.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Josh. You guys are doing great work.
Hey, glad you're on.
Thank you for having me on.
And look forward to building our relationship together going forward in this East Texas area.
Let's go.
East Texas. Some would say Northeast Texas.
Some would say.
Yeah, Northeast. That's probably right. Yeah, Northeast Texas.
All right, man. See you, Alan.
See you, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
See you.
See ya.
Man, that was a good talk with Alan. He's a good one. He knows a lot. I always learn from him, but at the same time, he doesn't. He's cool, like he's not a jerk or super arrogant. He's just talking to you like a person.
Yeah. I have really enjoyed these youth ministry episodes. Like, I know I'm a preacher now, but I still have a love for youth ministry. And I wish we could keep going. I wish we could have another episode. I mean, there's so much there. And not to say that I devalue any other kind of ministry, but there's just so much in youth ministry. And whether we want to believe it or not, they're the most active probably of the ministry world, because organically they have to be when you have active kids or teenagers that you're a part of their lives and different things. But today was great. There was some things said that I was just like, yes, preach. I felt like I was in the lesson.
Yeah, so that was good. I'm still thinking about is youth ministry the church of the future or the church of the now? And it's both. Absolutely, we undervalue, I think, teenagers, and we need to put them to work in a good way, use their gifts and talents, help them to find the places they belong. But it's also an investment in the future. It is saying we see you as important, and so we're going to help shape your faith for not just your future, but for the futures that come after you. That's really cool.
And I think here, everyone knows that we're ministers here at League Street Church of Christ. And I think we do a fairly good job of including them. Now, there are some areas where we could include them more. But I was just thinking, one of our boys, I think in the last 3 weeks, 2 of our high school boys have been the ones to do the prayer. And man, they do a phenomenal job. And they say some prayers that, I'm going to be honest, are better than some grown men that I hear. Yeah. And so they have something to offer. Yep. And for those of you who don't know, Rick is our technology guy. He's more than just, engagement and working with our young adult sector, but he does a really good job of getting our kids back in the media booth. And so we have, because we're doing lives and audio and video, and what else do we do? Oh, the clicker for the songs. On any given Sunday, you can look back there and there are 3 to 4 teenagers running that thing, and they can do it without him. And so that's another way they can get plugged in, and learn their spot. But I do agree that we got to quit looking at it as the church of the future. They're the church of right now, today. Yeah. Like they're here. They're part. Most of them, they've been baptized. They're part of the kingdom. Yeah, and so there's no tomorrow. There's today. So. But I understand the kind of the cultural influence there of, training up the next generation as well, but, and spiritual influence. So, but yeah, I think that was great. I mean, I was hooked in on that stuff. So, I felt like today I was just, I caught myself daydreaming almost, like looking back on, and I did this last week, our last episode too, where I was like, looking back on my youth ministry years, thinking, I hope I got that right. Did I get that right? I could have done better there. I should have toned it down here. Like, this has been awesome.
Just a reminder. I mean, that side, it's a reminder that we're people too, and we make mistakes. And hey, while we're doing this, we'll say we're sorry if we've ever made someone who's watching feel like they weren't included or valued. Like, not our goal, not our intention. Right. It's just a lot to manage, and we're short-sighted sometimes. But it definitely, this conversation today helped me just retune how important relationships are, and I hope that I do a better job paying attention to people.
Absolutely. So,
what else? Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, man, I've just really enjoyed these last couple episodes on youth ministry. It kind of brought me back, like I was saying, and I really enjoyed it. And I hope that, if guys are listening, and whether you are in youth ministry for the first time or you've been doing it a lot, I hope you were able to gain some wisdom just from the conversation that was had and the things that were brought up. And there's some valuable stuff there. There's some things there that I wished I would have heard when I was new into this thing, but I'm glad to be hearing it now.
For sure. So. Well, again, thanks, Alan, for being on the show. Yeah. And thank you guys for listening. We're halfway done with this first season. And crazy. So we got more good stuff coming. But as always, we want to hear your thoughts, your ideas, your feedback. And so there's ways to do that you'll hear about at the end of the show. But don't let the bush burn out.
That's right. Don't let it burn out. Yeah. We need to have some kind of cool voice that says that every time.
We'll get Brian Miller in here because he's got that announcer voice.
Yes, everyone needs to be introduced to Brian Miller.
That's right. So. Alrighty. Well, that's it for today. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right. See ya. Thanks. And with that, we've come to the end of another fiery episode of the Burning Out Bush. We hope today's discussion sparks some thoughts and maybe even a little bit of inspiration for you. Before you go and tend to your own metaphorical bushfire, we've got a few small requests. Subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that subscribe or follow button on your podcast platform of choice. It ensures you never miss a spark from us. Leave us a review. A 5-star review goes a long way in helping other folks find our little corner of the podcast world. Take a moment to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And also, we want you to stay connected. You can follow the latest flare-ups and announcements by following us on social media, finding us on all platforms, searching for The Burning Out Bush. Do you have a burning secret, a professional meltdown, or a story about truly hitting rock bottom that you want to share? Well, we want to hear it. Fill out our totally anonymous form, and your story might be featured in a future segment where we read and discuss listener-submitted workplace woes and career cataclysms. Find the form here at theburningoutbush.com. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time when we fire up a whole new conversation on The Burning Out Bush.